Welcome to the Heart Wide Open Wellness Podcast, where we explore therapy, Kundalini Yoga, and all things holistic wellness. I'm Hannah Zachney, LMFT, International Retreat Leader, and Curious Human. Whether you're tuning into us via social media or any of the major podcast platforms, we're so grateful to have you here. Here's to opening our hearts and exploring life together. Well, thank you, Van, for being here. I would like to welcome you to the Heart Wide Open Wellness Podcast today, where we have Van Bogardus, who is such an accomplished gentleman. I met Van at the premiere of Christina Mendoza's documentary called The Sacred Texts of War, which is a narrative therapeutic approach to veterans with combat trauma and PTSD. It is a very beautiful documentary I highly recommend. But we were today going to talk about Van and his experience. He joined the Marines in '67. He went to Vietnam in '69. He came home to San Diego, where he joined the LA Sheriff, moving up to LA. Did you move up to LA or did you live in San Diego?
No, I'm from LA.
Okay.
LA area.
Yeah.
So
LA, and then retired to not quit giving and serving, but retired to teach at 25 years at Sierra College. He has been a first handler of police dogs along the way, and is married to his high school sweetheart, 58 years. Cheryl, who I also had the privilege of meeting at the reveal of the documentary, and is just a wonderful support. And we're very excited to talk with you today, to learn from you. Mm-hmm. Your story is so very important to us. And just before I say anything more, just thank you for your service, and thank you for your time. Mm-hmm. And I know you made a little bit of a travel to get here today, so thank you for that as well.
My pleasure.
So please expand on the biography or what you have accomplished, because if you could just line out a little bit more in detail. My husband's a veteran. He served 22 years, and I, to this day, don't get all the numbers, acronyms, and right. and companies and groups all accurate. And I know there's a lot of people that really do understand that and appreciate it, and I would love for you to just do its due diligence.
Right. Well, back in 1967, actually a little before that, the Vietnam War was moving along. In high school, we hardly even knew what planet Vietnam was on, yeah. And but we knew it was happening. But as time marched on, graduated from high school, and I was facing a situation of join or be drafted, and I wasn't real inclined to go to school at that time. So I worked for about a year after graduation, just doing odd jobs, and after that, I joined the Marine Corps. I think my motivation at the time was I wanted good training. My dad had served in the Marines and was at Okinawa during the Second World War, and then after that at North China, and I was always kind of proud of that.
Yeah.
Grew up in a neighborhood where they called it a victory home tract, where all of the veterans that had families and whatnot, you bought a new home, and they were small tract houses. Every other one was pretty much the same as the other one before it, and all of my neighbors, for the most part, were World War II vets, mm-hmm. and some of them Korean War vets, and I liked the men. They were all nice guys, and I wanted to emulate them as I could. So.
And Marines, because you were exposed to the Marines, or was there a particular reason why you chose that branch?
I had my dad was at Okinawa in North China. I had another neighbor that was at Tarawa. Another neighbor up the street was at Iwo Jima, and then I in scouting, I had some of the adult leaders. I had leaders that had been with Marines at the Chosin Reservoir, mm-hmm. which are all big events in Marine Corps history, and various ranks. Most of them were enlisted, and but all services. I had a another neighbor that was on destroyers off Okinawa, and uh, he experienced the kamikaze um, runs at the island at the time. And so, all in all, I joined the Marine Corps because I thought I could be kind of like them.
Yeah.
I admired the men, and so I joined. Wasn't sorry.
Hmm.
It certainly wasn't Boy Scouts.
Yeah. No. No,
but
not at all.
but even at that, training I thought was rigorous, but good training. We went pretty fast. I think a little bit faster than Marines do nowadays, mainly because of the war effort. They had to keep all systems moving.
Hmm.
So anyway, I took my training and moved on over to Vietnam. I served with an infantry company
In 69.
in 1969. It was an infantry rifle company. Um, it was a Company L, Lima Company, 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines. All Marines know what 3-7 is,
Yeah.
so we're all proud of it. And of course, that was 1st Marine Division. So anyway, mostly around Da Nang and Quang Nam Province where we served, and doing infantry duty. And into my tour, um, short time actually, first sergeant discovered I knew how to type, and it changed my life.
Okay.
So that was something I didn't know what I was doing really. I got a lot of help and guidance from other companies and whatnot, but took care of um, such things as unit diary, correspondence. Helped a couple guys even get divorces and whatnot, and some of those things that happen during a combat tour. But at any rate, I served that tour, and um, because I knew how to type, the first sergeant, so that I wouldn't be moved around, changed my MOSs.
Oh.
So he reversed. He gave me an administrative or a clerical MOS as a primary, and my secondary was a rifleman.
That would change your trajectory,
And
right? Yeah.
it did. I couldn't get out of the Marine Corps early like my buddies. So I did my last 9 months at MCRD in San Diego.
Okay.
And during that time, um, my new brother-in-law was just going on with LA Sheriff. And so as soon as he did that, I visited on the weekends and whatnot. He lived next door to a sheriff's captain, but they kind of gave me the bug that maybe I should join on up with them, which seemed appealing at the time. I didn't know what I wanted to do otherwise, really. And so he bet me I couldn't pass the test, and went down and did pass the test. And it was a good job. Nice people. It was very much like the Marine Corps, doing the things that I enjoyed doing. I was, um,
Good camaraderie too, right? Just that
it was
sense of,
very
yeah.
good camaraderie. I would say that depending on where you looked, you could find kind of like a niche, and it was comfortable for me because as I've mentioned to so many people, it's with the Vietnam vet, um, there's an old saw that goes around that not everyone that went to Vietnam died there, and not everyone that returned ever left there.
Yeah.
And so I felt a lot of comfort in that, mainly because I felt like, well, I was doing firearms training for them at the time, and I thought, well, I can impart some of the lessons I learned, and that's what they wanted at the time. Such things as how the functioning of the firearms, of course, and safety, and all of the other um, duty needs that a deputy sheriff would need, but also a little bit about tactics.
Hmm.
And at the time, we were entering a department that was having trouble with losing officers, all of Southern California for that matter, to being shot.
Mhm.
And so there was a cadre of veterans, soldiers, Marines, I mean, all branches of the service, but we kind of worked together during an assignment I had at the academy to kind of map out, how are we going to change that picture for a deputy? And as silly as it sounds, there was um, one of the things that we came up with is, if you're taken under fire, if somebody's going to shoot you, do what soldiers do in combat. Get on the ground, get behind cover,
Yeah.
and things like that. Whereas at the time there was uh, cautions against having tombstone courage, because you have a sidearm doesn't mean that you're king of the mountain necessarily. There are some people that doesn't even factor into the equation, and an encounter you may have with them. So we worked on tactics and everything, and it was the forming of the first SWAT teams in the country at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, we were doing our work hand in hand with the LAPD at the time, and ultimately it ended up that we um, we were pretty much in charge of security around the '84 Summer Games. We weren't the primary or the only one. I
Yeah.
mean, there was state and federal aid entities in there, but just the same, met some really interesting people around that, and so we did the summer games, and following that assignment, broadcast went out looking for people interested in becoming a handler, police dog handler, and that would be for a newly formed patrol dog program. And I had an experience in Vietnam where a scout dog actually, saved our
Really?
bacon. Oh yeah.
Can you tell that story?
Well, essentially it was patrol, and we had a handler and the dog. And the dog was on a very long line, and I was back. I could kind of catch a glimpse of what was going on, but it was pretty clear what happened. But the dog apparently gave the handler an alert that there's danger ahead or something. And as he was kind of pulling on back, an ambush was sprung.
Mm.
And so the handler actually was uh, slightly wounded, kind of rang our bell, a little bit. The dog even had the wobbles after that whole thing. But anyway, that was handled, but it was very clear that the dog was the component there
Yeah.
that saved us.
A vital component. Yeah.
So it kept it it kind of kept an idea in my mind.
Yeah.
When they put the broadcast out, I thought, well, that's a good idea. I'd like to learn a little bit more about it, and so I did. And um, it's more than just learning, which end of the dog has teeth, and which
Yeah.
doesn't. You
Yeah.
learn quite a bit. So that was quite a interesting experience for me. I was able to get some training from some very good people. In fact, I trained according to the German police dog um, program, and got certified according to that, and that was very interesting as well. So anyway, and
Very
is
exciting. It's like one thing really has led to another for
it
you up to
for
this.
me,
Yeah.
right? Not a bad life or anything like that, but when you stop to think about, or when I do, what happened in Vietnam and everything, and how I carried it on through. Um, I think any Marine or soldier that's in combat like that, you leave something there of yourself, and you take something with you. And what I took with me was recollections of a couple of experiences, one in particular that just never, I couldn't get it out of my mind. Just
From the
remembered it.
beginning of returning home. Never. Yeah.
It just never went away. It's pretty much gone away at this point. I mean, I still have recollections of it, but I'm not processing it
Not the
mentally like I
intensity
did
or
at the
the, yeah.
time.
Mhm.
And at any rate, when I actually got back from Vietnam, I was having pretty serious GI issues. I mean, it was just call it just reflux,
Yeah.
just pretty bad. I went up to the Naval Hospital, and at the time I was getting out, so they said, you're going to need to follow up on that. And, they gave me a couple bottles of Mylanta and adios, we'll
Yeah. Might not be
have a
that
nice life.
simple, right?
Yeah. So with that, I kind of sort of sought out that treatment, just physical and everything, but it was more just treating with antacids.
Yeah.
And and then ultimately, I left the academy. My first assignment, I uh, had a serious issue. I got sick and actually began vomiting blood.
Oh, that's quite scary.
It
Yeah.
was. It
So how
was.
long have you returned at this point?
Okay, so I had returned from Vietnam in February of 70, and let's see, I got out of the Marine Corps in let's see, October 70, and I was due to get on with the sheriff in about November. However, they couldn't swear me in. I had a minor fender bender before I went to Vietnam. And
Uh-huh.
under the Soldiers and Sailors Act, everything stops until you get back, right?
Okay.
So I had to resolve
Little paperwork
that
cleanup.
minor issue, but I was actually sworn in January of 1971.
Okay.
Okay, so I worked off the street there in the county jail. Kind of interesting. I got to shirt tail some of the deputies watching Charlie Manson.
Wow.
Learned, yeah, with their penthouse crew at the time, and
Uh-huh.
going into the job, all of his entourage of the girls. We got stop and have a chat with them from time to time, but they knew us, we knew them, and you know.
Okay. So, I mean, hold up, because it's one high, I mean, some seems a little bit more exciting and high profile than some of the other stuff, but it's like one intense thing after another. So
Right.
how are you decompressing in this time frame? And then are you being treated when you're returning? And what's
Mhm.
going on
Yeah.
internally for you in
Right.
this time frame?
Well, wasn't decompressing,
Yeah.
and I wasn't receiving any treatment, and I think that's one of the problem that all of us have. I
Yeah.
mean, I began, anything is great, have a beer after work and everything, and then one thing leads to another. You have two, and then after that, now I didn't have any issues, serious issues while working. However, never left the recollections of that, and some of the things that have to go on during combat. But what I found is that I could get along with everybody, but from time to time there would be somebody that would say something that struck me as being foolish, stupid, or something, or just plain dangerous. Like,
Hmm.
you don't do that like that. Especially if it was something that would directly impact somebody's life. And every day I was working with great people. Something different was going to happen, and
Hmm.
how you handle those situations. So I was having a pretty good time career
From your
wise.
perspective, everything
And
was
my
going just fine.
it
Hmm.
was fine, but I still had those problems. And then with family, I noticed that as I look at it, I didn't notice it then, but I noticed, I remember what I was doing. I was having all of the classic problems with sleep, hypervigilance,
Hmm.
survivor's guilt, just
Yeah.
the whole list. You can say, yeah,
Yeah.
I was a clinical example of all of those issues. And um, with with some of the response that from internally, there were those that I'm talking to a colleague that's another deputy that's a veteran, and then there might be another deputy that wasn't, and this guy was looking at you like, yeah, same thing happened to me, and everything, and this guy over here might be saying, well, get over it,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a
So it
minute.
just reinforces
Yeah.
like don't talk about
So
it.
there
We
was,
all are in this horrible spot, so just
right,
deal with it. Yeah.
right. And that's where I started understanding that as vets, we're kind of set apart. We're kind of a different breed. There are certain things that happen to us where we can get along, we can communicate with each other. And I remember that the jokes that I might tell to another vet or a buddy or something like that, you know, the person that has no service experience, it's
It
not
doesn't
funny.
translate the same
It
way.
No, it
No.
doesn't,
Hmm.
and they don't laugh at the same jokes that
Yeah.
we do, and
Where it
of
can
course,
work very well here, but actually be disruptive over
oh,
here, right? And
right,
damaging.
right, and
Hmm.
there's a tension
Hmm.
that occurs there, and
Hmm.
a joke that we might have over here that you know, we'd hear somebody talk about their experiences before they came on the sheriff's department, and all of the things about Woodstock or something like that. And
Hmm.
the going joke inside was the only thing in 1969 I remember about Woodstock was the Woodstock on my M14,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
we thought that was pretty funny, but they didn't.
Just relative to your own experience, though,
It
isn't it? Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
and so yeah, so those kinds of things were happening, and I just figured, well, that's just the way it is, and just move on. I had a family. I mean, my wife.
What did that feel like when you started to notice those differences, though? Like, or were you able to access what that felt like?
Well, all I knew was that it was something that I really had to keep myself glued together,
Mm.
because if I didn't, I mean, that would jeopardize the well-being of my family. I mean,
So more pressure,
it would be more
more pressure
pressure.
on you to just deal with
Right.
it.
I, I really, I, I love my wife, and I just didn't, I couldn't talk to her on the same level about that, because yeah, I felt like that would be putting a whammy on her that
Mm-hmm.
you know didn't need to be there, and
Mm-hmm.
I just decided that I'll go out and I'll bring home the paycheck, and you pay attention with the kids, and everything was fine. We
Compartmentalized.
Yep, and so work tried to get a nice house, and we had a nice house. We had a nice car, and everything seemed to be working out okay. The kids were at school. I didn't have any
Hmm. Two
issues with
kids. You had two kids.
two kids, right? And my son was doing the typical thing. He liked motorcycles, so he wanted to get out and do motorcycles and stuff like that. And so I thought, well, that's fine. Just I'll support that best I can, and so we got an RV and we'd go out, and he'd like to do desert racing. It was an internal battle that I knew that I was fighting all along, and not that it was upsetting my life terribly, but it was just gnawing at me
In
all
the
the time.
background, just all the time.
It's always there, always there, and so. Uh, as I moved on through my career, it finally got to the point where, um, just internally, I mean, my stomach was always upset, and it was kind of like I felt like a double whammy. I had what I was carrying from Vietnam in the military, and then, of course, law enforcement is not one of those careers that, I mean, every contact is not peaches and cream.
Positive, right.
Yeah, negative contacts with people frequently, and then picking up tragic situations, crime scenes and whatnot. Some of those things. Issues. I had a There was a fire one time of my partner and I handled where um, babysitter decides that she wanted to go up the street and visit a friend for a few minutes, and the kids had gone to bed. Electrical fire starts in the house, and she comes back. The house is burning. She's calling for sheriff's or fire department, but
Yeah.
we arrived first. I could hear the children inside screaming and everything. My partner and I tried to get in, but just too much fire, and garden hose wouldn't reach or anything like
Oh,
that. And
yeah.
so um, I was having pretty nasty flashbacks at that time. I ran up the street when the fire trucks got there. I was helping them, pull hose up the street, get it on the fire and everything. But it turned out that two children, died in the fire, and that always kind of sat with me, seeing pardon me, the, you know, what what I'm taking in is unnecessary death,
Yeah.
and so I've always had that bug in me. I still have it to this day. I think unnecessary death.
Yeah.
I mean, big scale, small scale, it doesn't matter. If it's
Yeah,
unnecessary,
it doesn't
it
matter.
I don't tolerate it very well.
So
So
what age, what year is this now ish?
okay, so that would be roughly 1975,
Okay.
right in that.
And then, so how does your life continue? How do you start to get aware? Because I know you did a lot of work at some point.
You
And
know, actually, I wasn't really aware like you get PTSD or anything like that, or you've got something that's something that's hanging over. But I had this itch, like that first time that I went into the hospital shortly after I'd left the academy and going on patrol. I did 3 days of intensive care, and at that time the treatment was they'd pump you with ice water and then take it out. I mean, get all the blood vessels inside constricted. Well, they were doing that. I mean, every half hour, and then after I guess a couple of hours, then they do it every other hour. But it went on through the night, and by the next morning, I just said, uh, if it isn't over, then it's over. Just let me die. I mean, I
yeah,
felt like I
that
was
sounds horrible.
hypothermic.
Yeah.
And so I went through all of that, and this is when they would give you an upper GI, an endoscopy without any anesthesia, trying to get past that gag reflex.
These aren't adding to the positive experiences of your life. No.
And so we went through that, but I asked the doctor, is there anything to this Agent Orange stuff? Because it was, I mean, starting to kick up the controversy at the time, and the doctor said, no, nothing to it and everything. We got to figure out what's going on. So okay, but I went through all the way through at about the time of my retirement, where I had to see an internist, and then internist says, "Hey, this is the end. I mean, your stomach's in bad shape, pal, and if we don't get you fixed up here, you're not going to make it to 40."
Wow.
And so that was a big deal. It caused a premature retirement
Okay.
for me from law enforcement. I didn't know what I was going to do, but things will work out. I found a job doing high school teaching, student in the law, and I also got licensed by the state, and I licensed and trained security guards to carry a sidearm during course and scope of duties, and so that was kind of fun. And then
Landed on your feet once again.
right,
Yeah.
I'm landing on my feet, but but at that time, when I take the retirement, I'm still asking, what's the deal with the Agent Orange? And at the time, the VA was not real responsive to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I ultimately found out in, I think, roughly 1988 or thereabouts, 87, 88, is when the VA finally said, okay, yeah, Agent Orange is
It's a
causing a
thing.
problem here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so, well, thanks, and I wasn't happy about it, but life was moving on. And, like I say, life wasn't bad. I mean, I moved along. I ultimately moved to Northern California, helped some PDs with their police dogs, but I was contacted by a man that was the dean over at Sierra College, and he was um, doing or forming a police academy at Sierra College. And he said, "Would you like to come out and take a look at our program here and teach firearms? You've got some experience at
Yeah.
that." And so I wasn't sure that I wanted to do that anymore, but I took a look at it and I said, well, this looks fun. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
as it turned out, I really enjoyed it. Students were not looking for an escape hatch, and they were really hungry to want to learn something.
It's great to
So,
work with people who want to learn and learn from you, right?
oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think any teacher, appreciates, when the kids are in there. And so I strongly structured the course and expected a lot from them. And I mean, um, students were great. I mean,
Yeah.
they jumped right on in and,
That's great.
participated. And so that went well. I did 26 years worth of teaching at the college, and I like that. And but it wasn't until for me, I one of my dad's friends from childhood called me looking for my dad. My dad was up in Washington State with my sister at the time. And anyway, he he said, "Well, you're a Marine, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "Well, come on down and why don't you take a look at the Marine Corps League over here in Grass Valley?" So I did, and hey, there I was. So that puts me at roughly um, about 1998 when I um, went and took a look at that, and I've been with Marine Corps League ever since.
Wow.
But it was with Marine Corps League that I met up with a couple of guys that kept kind of pushing me, go over to the VA, get an Agent Orange screening. I said, well, I mean, what are they going to tell me? It's something with my overactive imagination. And they said, no, go get one.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to get an Agent Orange screening, and that changed my life again.
Mm-hmm.
And they were very thorough, and the VA was, it kind of struck me like there's something different here.
Yeah. They had
And
caught on and they were paying more attention.
they,
Yeah.
like people aren't giving you the okey doke. They're serious about trying to take care of you now.
Thank goodness.
And exactly right. Those are good words, because what I did there was a doctor that really took some time, and she says, you've got some things that you need to have taken care of here, and I recommend that you go and see if you can go see somebody about your PTSD.
Did you identify with that? Did you even think you had that at that point?
Nope.
Yeah.
I knew I had a problem,
Right.
but it wasn't, I wasn't processing it quite that way. I just it's like we joke, all the veterans joke, I'm sure glad there's nothing wrong with me. That poor devil over there needs a lot of help,
Yeah.
and we like to laugh about it and everything like that. So anyway, I followed up on that, and I saw a doctor up in Grass Valley area, Paige Brown, wonderful woman. but she diagnosed me, and I must have sat there for about, 10, 15 seconds, like, oh, so that's what it is.
Yeah.
And she started pointing out things, and that started me on, trying to pay attention to it. But on the other hand, I was so imprinted with the issues that I had, I didn't know how I was going to do it.
Well, thank goodness you had a few people that were pointing you in that direction. So imagine that you're not feeling completely alone, right? Like the VA
Right,
is picking up on it. Some friends are referring to you or suggesting you go look into it further. So you know that
right,
I might not be alone in this.
right,
Like maybe there's credibility to, it's okay that I can move
right,
into this. Yeah.
right. There's the professional,
Yeah.
and what the professional tells
Mhm.
you, okay, and
Mhm.
that's good. I'm not critical of that. In fact, that tells you what it's really all about. But the other thing that's really helpful, I think, is, and especially for a vet that's maybe a little hesitant to want to even go to the VA,
Mhm.
is your buddies.
I get that.
And
Not personally, but hearing my husband speak, I get this, and
right,
the level of trust that you build with
yeah,
at that degree of working together and living life in that way together.
right,
I haven't seen anything else like that.
yeah, and that's exactly right. Because I mean, like, reverting back to the combat experience,
Mhm.
when you're immersed in that situation,
Mhm.
it's not like you're depending on a letter from home or anything. You're
Right.
you're depending on the guy
You
that's
want the letter from home, but you're
that's
depending
right
on
there,
this guy. Yeah.
right by you.
Mhm.
And I mean, he's fighting,
Mhm.
you're fighting for each other. I mean,
Mhm.
to get through the situation, and your training
Mhm.
tells you how to do it. I mean, it
Mhm.
teaches you how you do it, and how to survive and get out of that situation. That's why when you have good friends, I mean, they're not even hesitant to want to get physical with you.
Oh yeah.
And that's what it took on my second go round before I really went to get treatment. Is I had a couple of friends that they were physical.
They
No,
needed to
you're
get
going.
your attention,
Yeah,
right? They needed to
yeah,
get your attention.
right. And
Sometimes love has to get attention.
right. And I had a on that second occasion where I really I was down and out, and they said, okay, so we're gonna do something about this. And I would say to anybody that's getting into treatment, if you really want it to mean something to you, got to surrender
Hmm.
and submit.
It's the hardest thing
That's
to do.
Well, it is, because look at it. Say, say surrender to a Marine or to a soldier that's been trained and has that kind of experience. That's the last thing that you're going to do.
Mhm.
And so, but I will say that once you can get over that barrier and say, yeah, okay, I'll give it a try.
Did you do it that day?
Oh yeah, well, I I, I was willing to, but
Yeah.
what he did is he arranged for me to get over to Menlo Park,
Mhm.
and that was the National Center. And they have two basic programs that I saw there. One was the FOR program, and I needed to stop drinking,
Mhm.
and they were very good and very effective at that. I mean the the trainers, I guess what you'd call them, the practitioners there. I mean, they were tough, but they were very kind. I mean,
Yeah.
they wouldn't take any baloney. I mean, they about what the
Well, you
goal
can't be
was,
anything but
and
disciplined
and
in that
30.
recovery.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it was very highly disciplined. And
Mhm.
then one of the doctors that was there when I just went and requested to her. I said, if I saw the PTSD center across the street, and I said, is there any chance I could make a request while I'm here? And she says, okay, I'll make one for you. And they said, okay. So at the end of that program, I had well, it amounted to a day layover, and she arranged for me to keep a bed at the FOR center, and
Mhm.
then I grabbed my gear and I walked across the street and did 90 days over there. So 120 days of
So at this
inpatient.
point, you're committed to doing something different. You
I'm
have completely bought in. And I just want to comment too. I think part of the reason possibly that you got where you got and didn't fall, I guess maybe apart sooner or something, is you did consistently surround yourself with your community. You consistently found people that understood you at
right,
some capacity.
right,
And I am certain, because I know that is very important to you, just the sense of community and the sense of
right,
support in that way.
right.
And looking back, you've had that the whole time. You were
I've,
wise enough to support yourself the whole time.
I've, I, right. I had good friends. I had, family that was supportive. My wife was backing it. She was upset. She didn't know fully why she was upset. She just was upset, and I don't blame her. Um, but I mean, it was very pivotal for me to be there because a couple things kind of happened during that time. I was realizing, getting it off your chest is one thing,
Hmm.
and how you do that and talking to people about it, that was
Helpful.
helpful. I had one of the counselors kind of take me aside one day, and he says, "I know what your problem is. What I think would really be helpful is you need to look into some forgiveness here."
Hmm.
And at first pass, I rejected the idea, but then I thought, well, these people, I mean, I haven't heard them say something that isn't true or successful or anything, so
Maybe there's something to that.
I
Yeah.
gotta
Hmm.
I gotta do that. But the more I looked into it, did some reading and whatnot, and the more I got in there, I thought, yeah, this is it. And it kind of caused me to kind of change things out. I wanted to reestablish a spiritual base. I wanted to kind of change things out, what the vets call our stinking thinking. I
Hmm.
wanted to iron that out.
Hmm.
There was a lot of things happening. So I was working on that, and I knew at the end of the program that, yeah, I'm disappointed this is going to end here, but there was looking out forward. I wanted to dive deeper,
Hmm.
and uh, the National Center was pretty deep, but getting back over to Mather, to join up with, the doctors over there, that's where I met Melinda Keenan,
Hmm.
and she and Bob.
Christina. Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Well, Bob Snyder, and I mean, there was
Yes,
a
there's a whole
few of
team over
them.
there. Yes.
Yeah,
Hmm.
they were over there. She she started for groups of us. She'd start charting out what this thing is, and it
Hmm.
was like, yeah, 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 and yeah, that's it.
Now you
Okay,
can't deny it. Now, and
okay.
you're deep enough in that
I'm
I
I'm
need to
look,
just deal with
looking at
this.
this, and so she was forming groups, and that's the first thing where her program is a little bit different than the other ones. I'm not critical of anything else,
Hmm.
but what
This just
worked for
worked for you.
me
Hmm.
was this idea of writing to the trauma.
Hmm.
And so I got into that first group, and so she recapped the entire subject, and then we began writing,
Hmm.
or everyone else began writing. And
Yeah.
there was two of us. Had a buddy. I struck up a friendship with another soldier that was a crew chief on I think with air cavalry, but soldier and everything, and on helicopters. And both of us sat there, and we couldn't get the pencil on the paper.
Yeah. Just
Just couldn't
stuck.
do it.
Yeah.
Nope. And just like Foghorn
Hmm.
Leghorn, I say,
Yeah.
nope, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And so
I like
anyway,
Foghorn.
yeah. and and so we sat there, and then he says, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna write any letters. I'm gonna write something to my family. I'm just gonna tell them what happened.
Hmm.
And I thought,
But it
okay.
opens the door, right? Gets it going.
So I said, you give it a try, and if it works for you, then I'll give it a try. And so he went for a couple of weeks, and he says, yeah. He says, this will open it up for you. And so I gave it a try, and when I tried, then once I opened that door, that gate, I mean, I just couldn't stop.
Wrote and
I
wrote and wrote.
I wrote, yeah, and kind of like writing anyway.
Mhm,
I've always done it,
mhm.
and so I wrote a story about front to rear, and some of the incidents that really were the most troubling to me and everything. I just got the incident down on the paper. One of the things that impacted me was at his rice bowl. And, if you've ever seen the
Yeah,
rice
yeah.
bowls, okay, well, when you take a look at that and you stop to think, this was the daily ration of
Mhm,
that soldier.
mhm,
And they would just fill that rice
mhm.
bowl, and then they take a knife or
Yeah,
something, a straight
take it
edge,
off the top.
and then if he was lucky, he might get a little square inch or two of maybe a fish or
Yeah, some
something, a
protein of some
duck,
sort. Yeah. So
and on that, but that was it. And but that sustained him. And that's all it really took. And I mean, it wasn't just that one soldier. I mean, everybody. And it just kind of impacted me. And so what I did is I took some of those things and I released it. I didn't
physical release, got rid of them.
keep it
Mhm,
with me.
mhm.
Dr. Keenan has
Yeah.
it now, and so
So proactive, actionable steps to distance yourself from.
right.
Yeah,
Well, I remember him. I
yeah.
mean, at the time that I did that, some of my buddies, they named him and everything, and you see, I just that's why I just feel like that that's what worked for me,
What
and
do you think it is that made you available to receive the work at some point? Do you think?
well, everything I learned along the way, like if I saw you and I saw another doctor and I saw another doctor, you know, I pick up something. There's always
So you wanted to get, you wanted.
something, and
Mhm.
so I'm looking, and
Looking.
I I think at the time that I made this final dive, I just said, I've been living with this all my life, and I can take this guy and I can bless him and send him home now, and I wanted
Love
to go
that.
home.
I love that. So I call my company is called Heart Wide Open Wellness.
Hmm.
Heart wide open because it's not so easy to live with a heart wide open
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
So, what does it mean to you? Because you definitely embody going through a lot of reasons that you have justification to close down.
hmm,
And you have remained open, you have remained in relationship with people, you have remained with friends, in a marriage,
right.
you've remained open. So, what does that mean for you to live with your heart wide open?
I think for me, it's just trying to be receptive. We're
Hmm.
human beings, and I've carried this. It's kind of like a load. We say, got a lot of rocks in my backpack here,
Hmm.
and so um, I've been able to unload my backpack
Hmm.
with the help of friends, guidance, teaching, counseling, and whatnot. And just like I was first told, surrender and submit and take this in.
Hmm.
And it, I feel like in doing that, it was successful for me. I'm reestablishing a spiritual base. Life is better at home. I'm just it smooths things out,
Hmm.
rather than wanting to feel like I have to, fight with somebody or
Hmm.
something, or, feel that battle, that I've
Hmm.
I've felt for so long.
What is that spiritual base for you? What got better, and how do you access that now?
I go to church
Hmm.
with family,
Hmm.
try to abide by the teachings. It's not like I, I've ever really been gone,
Hmm.
but it was like kind of renewing myself.
Hmm.
Not that uh, I ever abandoned that, but I mean, on that one night that I had a bad night, when I had an encounter with a soldier, but after it was all over, I kind of looked at myself and um, I told Jesus that I don't know where I'm going anymore.
Hmm.
You know, I don't, I just have no idea, and but I'll tell you what, not that I made a deal with Jesus, but I did. I just gave myself to the idea of wherever you send me, I'll just do the
Go.
best I can, okay, and let that.
Hmm.
So I didn't want to abandon that idea that
Hmm.
ever throughout all of this kind of stuff because I really I've never been that far away from
Hmm.
my relationship with Christ,
Hmm.
and so I just decided that you know um, stop any of the resistance and
Hmm.
surrender, submit, and life is good, and that seems to
Yeah.
work.
There's this beautiful thing. One of my favorite things about my husband, and I think this is a lot of Marines,
Mhm.
is that he is a man who goes towards, right?
Right.
There's men that run away and there's men that go towards. And we need both because there's a time for go get help or go do something so that it's not making one better than the other.
Sure.
But there is like a benefit to having the makeup to just go towards it. And even in your times of not knowing what was going on, right? I don't understand Agent Orange. Maybe I don't understand the PTSD that I'm dealing with. Maybe I don't understand. When you had the awareness to have an opportunity to move towards it, you took most of them. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe a couple needed a little bit of coaxing, but
Hmm.
you kept going towards.
Right.
And in many ways, that has shown up in your life and that just stands out. And I just want to give you that feedback that I just really admire that
Oh,
you
thank you.
didn't shut down, really. You
Right.
just kept going towards
Right.
whatever it was that was in
Right.
front of you.
Well, I think that's our nature actually.
Hmm. I do
It's
too.
instilled in you from basic training on. It's something that never goes away out
Yeah.
of your life. And I
Mhm.
mean, I think most of the guys, if you gave them the opportunity and a body able to do it, they go back and do it again.
I agree. From
I
what I
mean,
know. So I have another personal question ish for my husband would ask this if he was here. So he is now 52, 53.
mhm.
And he will say that nobody is he able to connect with like the guy like that, he calls it his tribe, my original tribe. And
Right.
he's found a lot of amazing supportive friends along the way.
Oh yeah.
However, like there is just something that is irreplaceable. And I just want to share with you, so he recently, just last week, reconnected with a group of people that he served with, and they were able to go skiing and spend a few days together
Yeah.
and share stories and be silly together.
Yeah.
And he came back so lit up and happy and
Yeah.
just like a different version
Oh yeah.
that isn't accessible through any other means. And
Sure.
that power of just
Hmm.
friendship and camaraderie. And
Oh yeah.
you light up when I say it, so you know
Oh
what I'm
yeah.
talking
I
about.
know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's I've been active with the Marine Corps League, and I mean it's not just the detachment that I've been with, but every time we bring somebody in or we go to visit someone else, I mean it's the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
We like to joke about it, get to howl at the moon again,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we have a good time at it. You know,
Yeah.
we 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 seek each other out. I
Yeah.
mean, there's very few that
Yeah.
can't go through an airport or in anywhere in
That's so
life,
true. It's
and
always happening to us.
and then you put your finger in there.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. Yes.
hey buddy, hey,
And if
step
it's
for
not, are
five.
you this? No, but I know this person. Okay. And then it's a whole other connection through. Yes. So, final question. What would you say to those who are dealing more current day with the recent things or coming back from Iraq or different places that, how would you encourage them to go get help?
Well, that's just it. I encourage anybody that if there is any issue, physical or mental,
Hmm.
uh, go get yourself into the VA, get
Hmm.
yourself identified, and tell them what the problem is, what your issue is, and they will probably put you with a primary care provider that will not only treat you but refer you to specialists that can deal with all the issues.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of support. I just would encourage anyone to do it.
Reach out.
And for those that feel like the VA will not be receptive, it's a new and a different VA.
It really is.
And there might be some horror stories out there from here or there, but always remember this, that if you go to a facility, let's say, and you feel like they gave you the raspberries over something that you wanted to have done or looked into, then if you still feel like you need that care, go to the patient advocate that's right in the building, you know, if it's that kind of an issue, and they'll go to bat for you. And you know, there's, you know, sometimes we perceive these small issues. It's a big issue to us.
Well, we minimize it too. Yeah.
And so therefore, you know, there are mechanisms in place, but my experience,
hesitate getting help.
Get the help, because otherwise you're left to being just miserable to yourself. If there's any substance abuse and everything, it's a downhill
extended to many.
It's it's miserable. I mean, you know, for those that think that you can numb up with you know, having an extra drink or something like that, you know, I'll just tell you something, buddy. There's going to be that rebound effect, and it just it doesn't work. You know, you can hammer yourself as much as you want, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I found that the VA seemed to work for me, and even those that are affiliated with it, everyone has something to offer.
Perfect. So reach out for help, check in with the VA, stick around people that support you.
Right.
Yeah, keep showing up for life. Yeah, doing all the things.
Yeah, hang out with people that are going to do something good for you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, Van, this has been so enlightening for me. I know for everybody that has been listening, my husband's going to love this, and so many of his friends. And I just will let people know that are listening that we also have a private practice that we are working with the VA now. We are offering a ketamine-assisted therapy for post-traumatic stress disorder, and we are also offering, and we've been for years, EMDR, brain spotting, CRM, somatic experiencing. We do family and individual and marriage therapy for not only first responders, veterans, but also the spouses and families, because my husband does not have your exact story for sure, but as a spouse, there's also just things that you go through, and it doesn't. Many people have gone through things much worse than me, but I understand that it's one for sure that needs a very important, but there's a ripple effect to all that they love and whom they love and who in their world. So it's a big system, and I just appreciate you sharing your story, enlightening us, and I just hope that anybody who's listening got something that they will usefully take away. I'm certain that's true, and just thank you for your time today.
Add one point.
You do it.
Okay. The final point I'd like to make is that what I'm hearing now out of VA and various circles is it's no longer called PTSD.
Yeah.
They've dropped the D because PTS. And for those that don't understand, going into a situation like this, PTS is a normal person's response to
an unnatural situation. Yes.
Right. Exactly right.
What's funny about that is something that I say to all of my clients and have said all along the way is that, I think I even said it earlier, was if you survive childhood, maybe I said this earlier today in a different conversation, but if you've survived childhood, you have trauma, right? Like, yeah. So it's not necessarily like a disorder. It's that we all are carrying stuck energy and stuck something. And so that's exactly why they have, reduced that. And I couldn't agree more. I think it's actually so refreshing to not label and to just treat what we can fix, right? Because, very possible and enlightening. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon, I'm sure.
Thanks again.
Thank you for joining us on the Heart Wide Open Wellness Podcast. We appreciate your time, energy, and attention. Whether you're watching or listening, please remember to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Stay up to date with us at heartwideopenwellness.com so you don't miss any upcoming events, offerings, or retreats. Until next time, keep your heart wide open.